Hey, this is Mark Smith with the premiere episode of Digital Roughneck, and I'm here with my co-host, David Conley.
It's perfect timing. It's perfect timing as oil crashes into the negative territory. I think it's funny that we premiere on this day, but we're going to
Yeah,
talk a
so
little
I'm
bit about
sharing
that,
my
I think.
screen. So look at this.
Sure.
I mean, look at oil, WTI, right? Minus 38. Okay,
Right.
who would have ever thought like minus 309.77, right? Percent decrease. Now, you got to understand that the Brent oil is still trading at 26. So why the diff? Why the difference between those two? Okay. So a little bit of background here.
Sure.
So this WTI trades on physical oil. So you've got this, everything kind of converging at once, right? So you got this May contract, which expires tomorrow. So here we are on April 20th. The May forward contract expires tomorrow. So you got all these guys with futures contracts holding physical oil, and yet we're in the middle of this COVID crisis.
Right.
Plus, on top of that, you've got the oil battle between Saudi and Russia, where they just dumped more oil and mucking with the price. So you got the COVID thing with demand in the toilet.
Right.
You got that whole thing going. And then you've got the difference between Brent and how it trades and WTI is significant.
Sure.
So WTI trades in physical oil. So now you got a problem. All the oil reserves are filled up. Even the tankers are filled up. So here you are. Hey, I got a bunch of oil and nowhere to store it. Versus Brent trades in cash. So if you've got a futures contract, you can just let it expire. And yeah, you're going to lose some money, but you're not dealing with the physical oil. Like, where do I store it? So literally, if you're sitting there, honestly, if there was a tanker out there available, it could buy oil just to, get paid to store this oil, sail around in the ocean, come back after oil goes back up and make a killing, right? So tankers could actually do pretty dang well right now. There's a new phenomenon that we kind of see, and want to get into that a little bit. So let's talk about beyond just the challenges that we're hearing, why we're created this thing. So what do we call this? Oil is trading at historical lows. So tell me about, you're in the oil and gas business. We're now both in that. What does that mean, right?
Well, it means one or two things. I mean, first of all, E&P companies are probably going to shut in as many wells as possible, right? I spoke to a friend of mine, and I was asking about this because he buys and sells oil. That's what he does physically. And I was asking him, I said, so I asked him the same exact question you just asked me. So what does this actually mean in terms of the industry? So how much trouble are we in is what I was trying to get at. And he tells me that, well, one thing is important to note is that some of these wellheads actually can't be shut in. He said there's a thing, there's kind of a theory, or this might be fact, and I'm not familiar enough with the subject to know for sure, but he talks to me about the earth healing itself. So if we were to just shut off the well and say, cut it, well, that's going to pose a problem for whenever things come back, because whenever they crank that thing back on, all of a sudden it's not going to be producing like it is now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So with that, I think that you're going to see E&P companies cut production as low as they possibly can, for one. And I think that they're going to have to get creative and start looking for new ways to produce oil at a lower cost. I think that's the new normal we're in. I think that's kind of what we're getting at, right? What is a digital roughneck, and what is the new normal, and how do we move forward?
Right. So you got producers have a hard choice to make. They can shut in, they can lay off some people, or get really efficient at producing energy. Right. If everything was geared up and all the costs and structure were geared for a $50 barrel of oil, it stays down in 20, right, or 25, half of that. What are you going to do, right? And obviously, the overall economy has to get fired back up. I mean, you got people rioting in the street right now
Yeah,
to get the United States and everywhere else back up and running. And so I think the governors are going to feel a lot of pressure on both sides. People saying, no, I'm freaking out about COVID. The other one's saying, no, let's get back to work.
sure.
Eventually the economy will ramp back up, right?
And I think that's important. I think it's important to note why. I mean, it's not. I think the only people that really benefit from this historic low is China, really, because they're the only ones that are really totally importing everything. I just saw an article on oilprice.com. China doubles rate of crude stockpiling as oil falls below $0. So that's
Right.
so they're the only ones that are happy about this, and of course, they're kind of the reason all this happened anyway, right? So I just want to throw my punch in there, but I'm upset.
Right. No kidding. So how do you get more efficient, right? I mean, one of the ways that we see, in fact, my neighbor, his truck's always was muddy, and I knew his own gas business, but I was
Right.
asking him like, "Hey, it's clean right now. What's going on?" He goes, "I haven't been out to a pad in 3 weeks." I go, "Well, how you doing that?" He goes, "Amazingly well, as a matter of fact.
That's great.
I've been able to manage a lot of the stuff remotely." I said, well, tell me about it. And he was explaining that, one of the biggest safety issues out there right now is just driving to and from the pad, right? So
Sure.
you've got huge cost of miles. They call them milk runs, right?
Yes.
And the biggest safety issue is not on the pad. I mean, sure, you have all this technology to make sure the pad doesn't blow up. That's why everything has to be C1, D1 rated, right? Is that the
C1, D1, C1, D2. Yep. Those are the rating classifications for electrical. Yeah.
But my guess is the trucks aren't C1, D1 rated, right? So
Sure. Right.
they're driving to and from, they get in accidents, they have other issues, and they're
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So to drive up efficiencies and cost down, there's going to need to be a new mix of operational and what I call OT and IT and operators to run that technology. And
Sure.
so we came up the other day with this term of digital roughneck. Okay. So let's take a stab at defining this, right? So
Yep.
what the heck is a digital roughneck? So a digital roughneck measures the success by the number of pads he can manage, not the number of miles driven to a pad sites in his truck. That is a big deal. And my neighbor was super interested in that because he's like, yeah, I spent a lot of time in a truck, and I would rather not. This
Yeah. I
last
think
three,
I heard I stopped to interrupt you. Sorry. I heard a shocking statistic actually from some research from a large company that is looking at automation, and they were telling me, look, our research shows that 50 to 60% of an operator's time is windshield time. 50 to 60%.
sheesh.
Think about all the time that they could be doing better, more efficient things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
So then you got, this mix of OT and IT background. So the idea that a digital roughneck can install, support, run AI-based RMM platform for one or more oil and gas pads. So let's talk about that. RMM. Now I come from the IT background, right?
right.
IT software development. I ran a magazine called Windows NT Magazine, which was in 160 countries. I had 1.5 million IT professionals. That's my sort of core audience. And one thing about being in IT, I got to tell you, little by little, every piece of technology eventually ends up in there at
In the
some point.
Yeah.
But there's sort of the domain of IT, and then there's the domain of OT, operational technology. You've lived in the OT world for forever, right? That's your
Sure.
background.
That's where my career was started and progressed until now, whenever I've kind of, what is that, seen the light of where I think the industry is headed. And I think that's kind of what's brought me to this digital roughneck. I want to call myself a digital roughneck. You know what I mean? So I've been in the oil and gas industry for 9-10 years now, and it's all engineering. So I work on the mechanical side of things, separators, blowout preventers, Christmas trees, all of those things I've designed and watched build, and And so, yeah, I have an OT background. So that's where I've played in the oil and gas industry. And I got to tell you, being in the oil and gas industry is very up and down. We're not we're not we're not a stranger to these types of situations. I think this is probably the worst it's been since I've been here. I think that this is actually the lowest oil's been since like ever. I want to say that they got down to like $5 a barrel in like 1960 or something like that, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it we're entering into, I believe that's why I'm getting into this RMM, this OT and IT mixture, because I believe that this is not going away. This is the new normal of oil and gas. So
Right. And, in the IT world, I could tell you that whole entire new business models were created out of necessity.
yeah,
So in the IT world, most small businesses are run by like a managed service provider who doesn't want to do truck rolls, right? So they have all of this RMM, remote monitoring and management software that can go in and manage a PC or a server or whatever remotely.
sure.
And with this new IoT world, Internet of Things, the same phenomenon is going to happen, right? Because if you just got new gear, I'll make a simple analogy. If you got new gear in your home, let's say that was installed by the Geek Squad by Best Buy, right? You got a brand new home theater, whatever. If every time you couldn't get on, oh my gosh, I got the whole family over. Well, in the old days, you got the whole family over. But anyway, you got the whole family over and we're ready to hit Netflix.
Yeah.
I can't watch. And if you called up your Geek Squad, and and they had to do a truck roll every time that happened, that would be a problem. But they actually have tools to remote monitor in and fix stuff. Same thing with your cable companies. IT world has had this whole RMM concept down. They want to avoid truck rolls at all costs, right?
Right, because just like we are what oil and gas is now, I mean, IT was at one point break fix,
Yeah.
right? So
you got about, I don't know what percentage. Let's say that you can manage a pad remotely, maybe 40 to 50%.
sure,
And then something happens and like, nope, you're in a truck, drive out and go fix it, right?
sure,
And so even a thing that we've been looking at with with Clean Connect is this whole idea of the whole thing of the LDAR teams, right? So they're out
sure,
there with their $100,000 FLIR cameras buzzing around, and
yeah,
they got to go visit those every 30 days. And then a new regulation shows up, like SB 181, that says, "No, you got to do it continually."
yeah,
Wow,
every 24/7.
yeah. So if you don't have fixed cameras sitting on there, then you're just not going to make it. So, further thing, so these tools that you're going to hear about, industrial IoT and communications and networking and data analysis, camera management, emissions monitoring, everything else, it's all coming. But the good side of it is it's new technology. The good side is eventually you'll be able to manage all those pads from a central location, and truck rolls will be at a minimum. Look, if something
Sure.
totally breaks physically, a physical item, unless of course you had a robot literally there that you could send over and replace
Which,
it.
hey, we might not be far off from that. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. But and I've heard of stuff happening even in the drilling side, electronic fracking or something,
Yeah,
but
e-frac, I
yeah,
believe.
but can we get more efficient? Can we drive costs down? And, can we even create a more enjoyable lifestyle with it, with the digital roughneck and remote monitoring and management stuff? So the digital roughneck, I think, still has the same pride over energy independence as a regular roughneck.
Absolutely.
But the whole idea too of leaving no trace, or the Boy Scout motto, when you go into a campground and you leave and there's no trace,
Right.
how can you produce a clean as energy as possible, right?
Right.
And then what we're finding, being in this IoT world that we've entered into, IoT stands for I own this.
Yes. Yes.
And eventually there'll be people like us and others who are going to make this whole remote monitoring management really, really easy. But for now, there's work to be done. There's new technology, but new opportunities. And
That's exactly right. I think as we are in this lowest of lows, I believe that that's when innovation is born. I mean, you look at the stock market crash, or the real estate housing crash of 2008. I mean, there were some incredible companies that were created in that recession, that were created in that downtime, and I think you're going to see the same thing here. Which that's the hope, right? I mean, the hope is that um, we produce cleaner, more efficiently, faster, better, cheaper. And I think that it almost takes us forcing ourselves to go through that process of development, go through that process of finding new opportunities in order to get there. And I think that's what's about to happen here in oil and gas in 2020.
And I think, there's been downturns even in IT as well, right? Where
Sure.
the whole Y2K thing, it really ramped up and crashed and whatnot. But I can tell you that the IT guys that really invested in learning some of the more cutting edge stuff, they really benefited from the career and whatnot. I remember, early on in the career, well, even when I was the magazine guy, we would say, "Hey, go get your MCSE, Microsoft Certified Engineer," kind of a deal. And people would do it, and they'd come out the other side and getting like 14, 15 grand raises off the deal.
Absolutely.
So this skill set of the digital roughneck is going to make anybody who jumps on this more valuable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's more valuable, right?
Because and you have to think these automation guys, the guys that are out there now, I mean, they're brilliant. I mean, the things that they know, they know how this whole thing works. You know what I mean? On an OT side of things. Now, if you can begin to learn about the IoT side of this, or the IT side of this, all of a sudden your mind is just going to kind of start flashing with opportunity of how you can increase efficiencies and lower costs. I mean, it's happening now already with me, and I've been in a more of a engineering terms of fab shop, fabrication, things like that. So in my background, engineering, sure, I can see opportunities, but if I were to be on the ground, I mean, I can't imagine what I could see with that kind of background. So I guess I just want to encourage anybody listening to this to open up to start, just thinking about those things. Take an AWS course. They're free. You can take an AWS course or an Azure course to start just wrapping your head around what is IoT, what is machine learning, what is AI, how does it work, things like that. I think that people are going to really start benefiting from that down the road.
So we're going to be looking, in future episodes at technology that we think is going to make a difference, companies,
Sure.
people, individuals, skill sets, whatever that we think is going to make a difference to, again, help the digital roughneck make that move from where they're having a first resort hop in a truck to the point when they can now manage dozens and dozens of pad all remotely, and we see that. And we can see a vision too where, again, every pad will have that technology on it to be able to help pull this off over the next few years, because I can guarantee you what goes down goes up, and what goes up goes down, right?
Sure.
So eventually the price of oil and the demand, everything's going to go up, because I can tell you the world is not getting any smaller. There's going to be more people and more demand. Every new piece of technology needs energy to run it. Okay. So it will all come back, and
Absolutely.
you can emerge on the other side being kind of the same, or you can emerge on the other side kind of really helping to jump into this thing and kind of help move the industry. What we see is to the next level.
Sure. And you can think about this, and if you actually look at a case study, I mean, I'll take an example just off the top of my head. DCP Midstream has done this thing where they went all in on this digital transformation. Like, I think it was 4 years ago or something like that. 4 years ago now. And now you can go to their website and it's right there. DCP 2.0 is their new is kind of their new thing, where um, they literally have every pipeline, their midstream companies, every pipeline is literally managed from an office in Denver. And the only time anybody ever leaves is whenever something does need to be repaired, but they can pinpoint, locate, diagnose, do all of those things on what needs to be repaired before they even send somebody out there. So they know what tools, they know exactly the distance the person's driving, all of that stuff, right off the bat. So that's just one. And I can guarantee you're going to start seeing that as a repetitive. Every producer is going to start heading that way. So I think it's really important.
So Dave and I are spending a lot of time in this space,
Sure.
this whole idea of RMM, and we actually helped start a company called CleanConnect.ai. So if you're interested in kind of getting up to speed what this is all about how we're using cameras and AI and all that stuff, go check out CleanConnect.ai, and we're going to be talking about really the whole roadmap from moving from doing tons and tons of truck rolls to a 100%, well, I don't know about 100%. We'll call it 97%
Right.
remotely managed pad. So anyway, anything last you want to say there, David?
Hey, it's been great. I look forward. I think we're gonna have another episode next week. Really important, or really excited about Steve Reese joining us from Reese Midstream Report. I think it's gonna be kind of a state of the union on where we are in oil and gas and where we're headed. And he has tons of wisdom. I've followed him from afar for a while, so I'm really excited about interviewing him.
All right. Well, for this episode, again, check out our sponsor, CleanConnect.ai, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Yep. See ya.